After driving my sick father to dialysis at 5 a.m., I came home to find my bags on the porch. My wife's brother was inside, drinking my last beer, watching my TV. "You're not family," he said. "You're a tenant who forgot to pay rent." My wife just sat there. I spent that night in my car, listening to rain on the roof. What I did next at their anniversary dinner. My dad's health went downhill fast after Mom passed. We lived in Athens, Georgia, and when his kidneys gave out, everything changed. Dialysis 3 times a week, early mornings, long hours in the hospital chair while machines did the job his body couldn't anymore. I was the one who took him every time. No one else stepped up. I did it because he raised me right. Because I owed him. That morning started like any other. I was up at 4:30 a.m., made coffee, helped Dad get dressed, and drove him to his appointment. It was still dark when I left the clinic. He gave me that weak smile he'd been giving lately. The kind that hurts worse than any insult. I told him I'd bring by lunch later. I was tired when I pulled into the driveway. I figured I could squeeze in an hour or two of rest before work. But when I got out of the car, I saw my bag sitting on the porch. At first, I thought maybe someone was playing a joke. Then I saw my suitcase. My laptop bag. Even my damn boots were out there. Everything of mine, right on the front step, like trash someone didn't want inside. I walked up slowly. Tried the doorknob. Unlocked. I stepped in, and there he was, Luke. My wife's loser brother. The kind of guy who talks about big plans, but can't hold a job for longer than a month. He was on my couch, shirtless, drinking the last beer I'd been saving, watching my TV like it belonged to him. He looked right at me and didn't even blink. "You forgot to pay rent," he said. "Tenants who don't pay don't get to stay." He laughed and lifted the beer to his mouth. I looked past him. There she was. Stacy. My wife. At the kitchen table. Not saying a word. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Stacy," I said. "What the hell is this?" She stayed silent. "You know where I've been. With my dad. He needed me." Luke stood up and stretched like he just woke up from a good nap. "You're not family," he said. "You've been mooching." I told Stacy she deserved better. I took a step forward. He squared up, like he wanted to fight. "Try it," he said. "See what happens." I looked at my wife again. She just stared at her phone. Didn't say a word. I walked out without another word. That night I slept in my car. I parked 3 blocks away. Couldn't stand the sight of that house. The rain started around 9 p.m., and by midnight it was coming down hard. I sat there in the driver's seat, soaked in silence and anger. I didn't cry. I don't think I could. I just stared through the windshield, watching the water blur everything. The next day, I moved in with my dad. Told him I wanted to be closer. Didn't tell him the real reason. He offered me the spare bedroom, and I took it. I didn't have a job anymore, but I still had skills. Got some cash doing small mechanic jobs around the area. Enough to pay for groceries and keep my truck running. For weeks, I didn't hear from Stacy. She didn't call, didn't text. Nothing. I figured that was her way of saying it was over. Then, 3 months later, she texted. Out of nowhere. "Anniversary dinner. Mom and Dad are coming. Please be there. Let's be civil." Civil? After what she did? I stared at that message for a long time. Thought about ignoring it. Thought about deleting it. But then I realized something. That dinner? It was a perfect chance. A chance to give Luke and Stacy something they wouldn't forget. I spent those weeks planning. Not rage planning. Careful planning. I knew Luke was shady. Always had that smell of weed on him. Too much cash for someone without a job. I started asking around. Made a few calls to friends back in Decatur. Talked to a guy who used to run with Luke. Learned things. Luke was dealing again. Pills mostly. Painkillers, benzos, whatever he could get. He was on parole. If he got caught again, he'd be gone for a long time. I needed proof. So I made a new number. Texted him, pretending to be someone looking to buy. Got him on the phone. Recorded everything. Prices. Quantities. Pickup times. He was stupid enough to talk freely, bragging about how smart he was for hiding the stash in his sister's garage. I also went by the house when no one was home. Used the key I never gave back. Took photos of the toolbox in the garage. Pills inside plastic bags, hidden behind oil cans. Got everything I needed. I waited. The night of the dinner, I wore my best shirt and a fake smile. Stacy's parents welcomed me like I was still part of the family. Her mom hugged me. Her dad gave me that weird stiff handshake he always used. They had no clue. The dining table was full. Roast beef, potatoes, wine, the works. Stacy acted like nothing ever happened. Luke sat across from me, smirking the whole time. Halfway through, I stood up. I want to say something, I said. Everyone turned. I want to toast the people at this table. Family. People who show their true colors when times get hard. I want to thank the ones who stayed silent when they should have spoken. The ones who threw me out like trash while I was taking care of my sick father. Stacy's smile disappeared. Luke shifted in his seat. I pulled out my phone and hit play. His voice echoed through the room. Yeah, I got him. 20 per bottle, Oxy and some Xanax. Pickups in the garage, third shelf. Just bring cash. Dead silence. I laid the phone on the table. Already sent to his parole officer, I said. Also gave a copy to the DA. Stacy's mom dropped her fork. Her dad stood up. He didn't say a word. Just walked toward Luke. Luke bolted. But it was too late. Luke made it 2 steps toward the front door before Harold, Stacy's dad, grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. That old man still had strength in his arms, even if his back was crooked from 30 years in uniform. What the hell is this? Harold yelled, holding Luke in place. I don't know what he's talking about. Luke shouted, struggling like a wet dog. He's lying. He played your voice on the damn phone, you idiot. Harold growled. In this house. With your parole hanging by a thread. Stacy stood up, finally snapping out of whatever fog she was in. Everyone calmed down. She screamed. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching it all. I didn't feel bad. Not one bit. You planted that stuff. Luke yelled at me, still pinned against the wall. You're a liar. You're jealous. I shook my head. You did that all on your own. I just opened the curtain. Stacy turned to me. You had no right to go through our garage. Our garage? I said, raising my voice. You mean the one I built out when we first moved in? With my money? You sat there while your brother kicked me out like I was trash. Now you want to act shocked? She didn't have an answer. Her mouth opened, then closed again. You left. She shouted back. You just left. You made it clear I wasn't welcome. I said. Remember? Not family. Just a tenant who didn't pay rent. Harold let go of Luke, who stumbled and tried to fix his shirt. I swear. Luke said. This is all revenge. He's just bitter. That's funny. I replied. Because I've got more than just audio. I pulled out a second envelope from my jacket and tossed it on the table. Photos. I said. Inside your toolboxes. The bags. You didn't even hide them well. Harold opened the envelope and started flipping through the pictures. His face got darker with each one. You son of a bitch. He muttered under his breath. You did this in my daughter's home? Ex-daughter-in-law. I corrected him. Soon enough. That's when Stacy cracked. This is all your fault. She screamed at Luke. You promised me you were clean. You said you weren't using again. I'm not. He yelled back. I'm just flipping, that's different. Her eyes went wide. The whole room went silent again. I let you live in my house, she said slowly. I lied to my husband. I covered for you. And you were running drugs from my garage? Luke's defense fell apart. He didn't say anything. That's when the knock came at the door. 2 officers. One in uniform, one in plain clothes. DA. They asked for Luke. No one said a word. Luke tried to run again. Didn't make it past the porch before he was on the ground, cuffed, and shoved into the back of the cruiser. Harold gave me one look before walking out the front door. Didn't say anything. Stacy just stood there. Alone. Shaking. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I didn't know it would go this far, she said quietly. You didn't want to know, I answered. And I walked out. But it didn't end there. 2 days later, Stacy showed up at my dad's house. She looked like hell. Puffy eyes. No makeup. Hoodie over her head like she was hiding. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. I need to talk, she said. I crossed my arms. Not here. She nodded and we walked to her car. I didn't get in. Just leaned against it. I didn't know he was doing that, she said again. I thought he was getting better. I believed him. He kicked me out, I said. You watched it happen. I thought if I said something, he'd hurt me, she whispered. He threatened me. Said if I didn't back him, he'd tell my parents I was stealing money from their business account. That was news. What money? She looked down. I borrowed some from Dad's small business loan. For the house. For Luke. I thought I could pay it back before anyone noticed. She was crying now. I didn't say a word. I made a mistake. She said. I didn't protect you. I chose wrong. You did. I said. And now you have to live with it. She nodded. Are you really divorcing me? Yes. Silence. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a set of keys. My old keys. I found these. She said. Thought maybe you'd want them back. I didn't take them. I don't need them anymore. I said. You keep the house. The memories are rotted. She looked like she wanted to say more, but I turned and walked back toward the porch. Dad was watching from the window. When I came inside, he handed me a beer and said, that was something. I took a long drink. But I knew it wasn't over yet. Because Stacy's secrets were deeper than she let on. And I wasn't done digging. The next week, things got quiet, too quiet. I knew better than to think it was really over. Luke was in jail, no bail. His parole officer was done giving him chances. Stacy's parents were humiliated. Her mom stopped calling me. Harold texted once, just to say, he's dead to me. That was it. I started sleeping again. Eating better. Helping Dad with yard work and teaching myself how to weld. It felt like life was crawling back into place. Then I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside were two things, a bank receipt and a note. The receipt showed a withdrawal of $15,000 from Stacy's joint account, dated 3 days before the anniversary dinner. The note just said, don't believe everything she says. She knew. No name. No explanation. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then I picked up the phone and called my buddy Greg, who works at a small law office downtown. He owed me a favor from years back when I rebuilt his transmission for free. I asked him to quietly look into Stacy's accounts. Nothing official. Just a background dig. A few days later, he called me back. Brace yourself, he said. Turned out Stacy had opened 2 new credit cards under both of our names months before I left. She maxed one out at $8,000. The other was sitting at $11,200. Mostly cash advances. Gambling sites. One adult website. It got worse. She had taken out a personal loan in my name. 20 grand. I never saw a penny of it. She signed it electronically using my old email, the one she had access to. She forged my signature. That's when the switch flipped in my head. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was theft. Fraud. Deep fraud. I didn't say a word to her. I let her think I had let it all go. But I wasn't done yet. That Friday, I went back to the house, not to talk, but to look. She was gone at work, probably at the property management office where she handled leases part-time. I still had my old garage opener. Never gave it back. Inside the house, everything looked different. Luke's stuff was gone. The furniture was rearranged. But one thing hadn't changed, the safe in the back closet. I'd installed it myself 2 years ago. She didn't know I had written down the combination and hid it behind the fuse box. Inside were papers. Insurance stuff, passports, and one manila folder marked pledge document. I opened it. Printed emails. Loan details. Screenshots of our joint bank statements. Her passwords scribbled on sticky notes. Even a prenup draft, unsigned. That she had started after Luke moved in. She was getting ready to clean me out. Officially. I took pictures of everything. Then I quietly left. That night I met with Greg again. We started the paperwork. Fraud complaint. Identity theft. Civil lawsuit. And divorce. But I wasn't filing yet. Not until I had one more card to play. I waited another week. On a Monday afternoon, I called Stacy and asked her to meet me at the local diner, the one where we used to go before things got rotten. She said yes. She sounded tired. Nervous. She showed up wearing that same hoodie, no makeup. Sat across from me, sipping coffee like she couldn't keep her hands still. Why'd you want to talk? She asked. I've been thinking, I said. About what you said. How you were scared of Luke. How you felt trapped. She nodded, eyes wide like she thought maybe I was softening. And I just have one question, I said. What did you do with the 15 grand you took out before the dinner? She froze. I pulled the receipt from my jacket and slid it across the table. She stared at it. Didn't speak. Did Luke tell you to do it? Or did you just decide to clean the account yourself before he went down? She stammered. I needed it to pay the loan. Which one? I asked. The one in my name or the one under yours? That shut her up completely. I know everything, I said. The fake signatures. The cards. The gambling. The lies. Her eyes welled up. I was going to tell you, she whispered. No, you weren't. You were going to drain me, file after Luke was locked up, and play the victim. She looked like she'd been caught in the headlights. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she said. I was in over my head. I leaned forward. You made your choice. And now I'm making mine. I stood up. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. As I walked out of the diner, I didn't look back. I had more work to do. Because I wasn't just going to leave her behind. I was going to make sure she never forgot what she did. And I hadn't even played my final move yet. The day I filed the lawsuit and divorce paperwork was cold and quiet. I dropped off the documents at the courthouse downtown, then drove straight to the police station with my lawyer. We handed over everything: photos, signed affidavits, email screenshots, credit reports, even the sticky notes she had written her passwords on. Identity theft is serious. And in Georgia, it's a felony. By the time Stacy got served, it was all official. I wasn't doing it out of spite. I did it because she took my name, my money, my trust, and spit on all of it. She could have come clean, but she lied right to my face, even when I gave her the chance. When she got the charges, she tried to call me. I didn't answer. She tried my dad. He hung up on her. The bank froze the joint account. My credit cards were shut down, and I got new ones under fraud protection. The personal loan she opened in my name was reversed after the investigation proved she forged my digital signature. Her entire life started unraveling. The property management company fired her when they found out about the fraud charges. Her name was flagged in the Tenant system. Her parents cut her off, too, especially after they found out she had taken almost $6,000 from their business account without permission. Her mom cried when she called me. I told her I wasn't the one who needed to hear it. Then came the civil suit. I wasn't just leaving her, I was making sure she paid. And the timing couldn't have been worse for her. Because while she was fighting the criminal charges, she was also being sued. I filed for damages equal to the money she took, plus pain and suffering. Her lawyer tried to fight it, but there was too much proof. She ended up settling. She had no job, no income, and was desperate. She signed over her share of the house, gave up claim to my truck, and agreed to drop all rights to anything I owned. I gave her a deadline to move out, 30 days. After that, she was out for good. And Luke? He was still sitting in county lockup while the feds built a stronger case. Turns out my little recording wasn't the only thing they had. After they arrested him, they raided his old storage unit in Decatur. Found more pills. Cash. Even a burner phone he'd been using to message other buyers. Idiot didn't know how to cover his tracks. With the new charges, he was facing serious time. He took a plea deal, 10 years minimum, no parole for at least 7. Stacy never visited him. Not once. That was his reward for dragging me down. It didn't end with revenge, though. There was something I still had to face, myself. I wasn't perfect. I'd ignored signs. Let people use me. Made excuses for bad behavior because I didn't want to deal with the truth. I thought being the nice guy would earn me peace. But all it earned me was a knife in the back. So I changed. I got therapy. Took accountability for my part in letting the situation drag on as long as it did. Dad and I fixed up the garage and started a small side hustle fixing up classic cars. I went back to school at night, started learning welding and fabrication seriously. I found purpose again. I didn't date for a long time. I wasn't ready, and I didn't want to carry all that mess into someone else's life. But eventually I met someone. Real slow, real quiet. A girl who volunteered at the dialysis center where Dad goes. She brought coffee to the patients on Thursdays. She knew about pain, but she didn't let it harden her. We started talking. Then sharing meals. Then laughing again. Not rushing anything. Just living. 6 months after the divorce was final, I went back to the old house one last time. It was empty. The grass was overgrown, the mailbox stuffed. A city notice hung crooked on the door about overdue utilities. I stood there in the driveway where my bags once sat in the rain. It didn't hurt anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was free. And the people who betrayed me? They got what they deserved. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't just watching them fall. It's making damn sure you rise so far, they can't even see you anymore.